Yeah, that's right, Judge. Take off your clothes. What's this? Play Mullet Mad Jack, huh? Okay.
Somebody help.
What is up, LobotomizeGang is the guy. You know, the guy who is not epileptic. Sorry if the videos are coming a little slower than usual. Trust me, I'm doing my best here. It's just that I'm in a very liminal space. What the hell is going on around here? Anyway, not as in what you just witnessed, but as in things are rapidly changing and I'm forced to put aside my hopes and aspirations, as one usually does. Trust me, if I could just sit here and crank out low-effort content like more Pegasus, I definitely would. But alas, my conscience forbids me from letting this channel resemble a stinking pile of garbage. And if you're thinking that I'm jealous of the man, then you're definitely right. I am jealous. I mean, I'm smart enough to get a PhD, but apparently not enough to produce content of such quality. An electrifying display of creativity and innovation. But hey, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Mullet Mad Jack as a door kicking, barrels blowing, robot penetrating, sensory overloading, existential crisis experiencing, be incredibly creative with his concept but simultaneously painfully constraining, somehow, simulator. Seriously. This game contradicts itself so hard that you'll think you're watching Jordan Peterson talk about God. Developed by Hammer 95, Mullet Mad Jack is an epilepsy simulator disguised as a high-octane first-person shooter in the vein of Angerfoot, where you are driven by an insatiable, autistic thirst to speedrun the entire game to sustain the dopamine high. For the low price of a measly $10, you can also experience what it feels like to be simultaneously high on LSD and PCP. So, what are you waiting for? Let's dive into the story. Much to my surprise, there is an actual story in this game. Granted, the whole thing is as long as your average Gen Alpha attention span, but it's a story nonetheless, and one that's on occasions pretty funny to boot. I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to take this story seriously, but I find it interesting enough to merit a more thorough inspection. So, I'ma do what I always do and go into it anyway. You know what I say about me. And no, it is not true. I am not gay, okay? How is it gay if it's the other guy sucking my? The game is set in a fictional dystopian world where AI and algorithms have become so advanced that they have taken control over the world, with humans reduced to mindless slaves addicted to the internet and social media. Wait a second. In this world, humans have only 10 seconds to live, with the only way of extending the timer being regular dopamine hits derived from live streams and TikTok brain rot. You play as Jack, who is a moderator, a streamer/bounty hunter of sorts, tasked with hunting and killing the AI billionaires that rule the world. The entirety of the game takes place within a 3-hour live stream of you trying to get a pair of shoes by rescuing this princess lady here, who is captured by this bullet guy. Every time you come close to rescuing her, she always appears to be on 10 floors above, thus forcing you to ascend this tower, floor by floor, subjecting its clanker population to a cleansing of epic proportions. On the surface, this story is nothing too special, but if you're willing to dive a bit deeper into it, you'll realize that this pond is not nearly as shallow as it appears to be. There is also this whole thing about the bullet guy trying to find God from the beyond, using the princess virgin blood for his rituals. Pretty fun premise if you ask me. A sufficiently wacky narrative for an equally zany concept. As you make your way through the numerous floors of the tower, you also come to learn more about your past and how you ended up as a moderator. And yes, if you're thinking that being unironically called a moderator is not a good thing, then you'll be right. I mean, your protagonist is basically what a Reddit mod thinks he looks and sounds like. Despite pulling off some badass moves, the guy is a walking blob of contradictions, spouting vague motivational BS that he himself doesn't even listen to. Like how he always says, don't go into debt, while voluntarily hooking his ass to a streaming app that'll kill him if he doesn't provide enough entertainment. or how he tells you to eat healthy while chugging down energy drinks like a frat bro before his ass-pounding disguised as a hazing ritual. Sure, Brad, I'll gladly let you put your penis inside my ass for the 20th time for a chance to become a member of this house. Your protagonist also says that women love basic hygiene when there's an upgrade to give him that classic Redditor body odor so potent that even the robots are repelled by it. Truly, the peak of male masculinity. Safe to say, I don't think you're meant to take the story seriously. Even when its social commentary is true, it still sounds like what a red pill alpha male would say after watching some slop video about Nietzsche's literature without actually reading or understanding any of it. What do you mean you haven't read the heterosexual sorcery? God is dead, but it is not mankind's scientific advancements that killed him. It is pseudo-intellectuals on TikTok. Pretty soon, the Ubermensch is going to be an insecure, misogynistic, bald guy full of steroids with a god complex who thinks he's a badass cause he got caught committing crime. What? Don't know what I'm talking about? Just read Hands Silent or Sutras. Anyway, this is as far as we can go without venturing into the territory of spoilers. So, if you want to experience the story to the fullest extent, please skip to this timestamp on the screen. Now! Hurry! God damn! Come on, the algorithm, man! I can't slow the pace down! God damn! Hurry! As previously mentioned, your singular purpose throughout the entire game is to get a pair of shoes by rescuing this princess from the Bullet guy, who's trying to use her virgin blood to find out if there's a higher being from beyond the mortal realm. This turns out to be a huge mistake, as not only did he not find God, but this revelation also puts him into an existential crisis. Being one of the richest entities in a world where money is the be-all-and-all, Bullet Guy exists without any purpose other than acquiring wealth. Wealth that he has no use for, as he's a robot and thus has no need for sustenance, worldly pleasures, or anything for that matter. Since, according to this guy, robots have no soul. So, in order to fill the void of his meaningless existence, Bullet Guy turns to religion, which turns out to also be a lie. This drives him to madness, resulting in a pretty cool boss fight to end the game with. One that doesn't actually make use of the game's mechanics, but you know, fighting a giant robot mech is never going to be not cool. But wait, there's more! In the very end, in the very last seconds of the game, in a final twist nobody could have seen coming, the princess is revealed to not be a virgin. Ha! Poor Bullet Guy. Well, at least it could have been worse. Bullet Guy could have found out that there is a God, but God is malign, and now God has taken notice of his existence. All in all, I think the story is immensely enjoyable. Even though it only lasts for a little more than 2 hours, it effectively conveys what it needs and gives us enough lore to figure out the rest. Despite satirical jabs at social media and our consumption of it, MulletMageGang knows exactly what it is, and it doesn't try to be any deeper than it should be. At least I don't think so. I hope so, because this game taking itself seriously is akin to a YouTube channel making a slop video saying that Avowed is slop without playing past the first 2 hours. Now one could argue that by me criticizing these videos, while mine are in fact products created for the sole purpose of providing entertainment and are thus disposable, then I would, by my own definition, be considered a hypocrite. And to that I say, you're right, I never said I wasn't. But at least I can formulate an academic sentence. And I have a massive pain. I'll make it simple for you. If you understand what you're looking at, then you're playing the game wrong. You don't think when you play MulletMageGang. You let go and enter a state of flow, in which you transcend mortal consciousness and become one with the computer. You have 10 seconds to live. Every kill nets you precious seconds to extend your timer. The cooler your kills are, the more time you get. So, while headshots are faster and easier to land, dick shots are better rewarded in the long run. You even get an upgrade to give you more time when you destroy more than one generation of robots. Mind you, these robots are programmed to feel pain. So, practical purpose aside, shooting them in the balls is entertaining for its own sake. Speaking of entertainment, a lot of it is thanks to the overwhelmingly chaotic retro-futuristic aesthetic of the game, where bright neon lights keep flashing directly into your eyeballs as if trying to neuralize you.
The numbers! Are they saying? Damn it! Why can't you remember? The pain! That was just in your mind. Oh my God! There are gaps in your memory, but now that the brainwashing's been broken, all that lost time will come back. We need to leave.
While something akin to this has been done before, like in Angerfoot where you kick down doors as gabber music tries to blow your eardrums apart, the concept of unconstrained adrenaline-filled rampage has never been taken to such an extreme level as in Mullet Mad Jack. With only 10 seconds to live, every decision you make must be made in mere milliseconds. There's quite literally not a single second to spare. You move fast, but so do enemies and their projectiles, and every hit you take sends you ever closer to an untimely demise. And should you be masochistic enough to attempt the game on higher difficulties, then before you even enter a room, the enemies will need to have already been dead, and you will need to already be on the elevator to the next floor. The elevator in which you get to choose your upgrade. I gotta admit, for a game with such a crazy premise, I was kinda expecting weapons more on the wacky side, even though what's here still gets the job done perfectly fine. You got your classic arsenal of pistol, shotgun, SMG, assault rifle, railgun, plasma rifle, and katanas, all of which are good at killing enemies, two of which are not utterly useless. Look, while it is true that all of these weapons are viable, a well-adjusted individual who takes showers and do not molest anime lollies will probably not be cracked enough to beat the game with the plasma rifle on anything higher than the normal difficulties. You know why? Because it takes more than half a second to kill an enemy with this thing. Yeah, I'm not kidding. The higher the difficulty is, the less time you get and the faster you're gonna move. So, when you bust into a room and the enemies is not already dead, then you might as well just restart the level entirely. Only the pistol and SMG are fast and accurate enough to consistently hit both kinds of headshots. In fact, I beat my first run with a starter pistol, which can be upgraded to have infinite ammo. The SMG is not accurate in the slightest, but with an RPM so high and reload time so low, one of the 30 rounds you shoot out in less than a second is bound to kill something. The other weapons are either too slow or too imprecise for my liking, the only exception being the fire katana, which is good at clearing floors but horrible at killing bosses. This brings me to, in my opinion, Mullet Mad Jack's biggest weak point, which is its obsession with balance, to the detriment of fun. There are so many fun and cool upgrades in the game, but you only get to choose 1 out of 3 every time. And even then, one of those upgrades will most probably be an unupgraded weapon you are not interested in using. There's a way to give you a forced selection, but it's only 50% of the time. So that's 1 out of 2 or maybe 3 upgrades every time you beat a floor, which might not be as bad had you not considered the most powerful upgrades like adding 1 extra second to headshots or reduce damage taken by 50%, which you will pick 100% of the time. Seriously, who the hell would want to pick useless upgrades like 10% chance of slower enemy bullets or 30% chance of a critical hit when options like double explosion size and extra time for explosive kills are on the table? Worse yet, your upgrades reset every 10 floors. So, if you're like me and think that you can eventually become super OP, then think again, pal, because fuck you! Who needs fun when you can have a challenging and balanced experience, right? You see where I'm going with this? It's not about difficulty, it's about presenting a possibility for fun, but never allowing it to become possible. There is not even an extra game mode that lets you go all out, choose whatever upgrades you want, and turn into Cyborg Jesus. Everything has to be all controlled and structured. Quite ironic for a game that bases itself on the concept of entering the flow. Now you can argue that taking away your upgrades just as you were starting to feel powerful fits into the narrative of the streaming company dangling a carrot in front of you so that you keep on going, fighting for something you can never have, never being happy with what you currently own. You're like a monkey, dancing for the audience amusement at the whims of a soulless corporation that treats you as less than a human being. But having the most pretentious story doesn't have to correlate with not having a fun game. Okay? It's your game. You can do whatever you want with it, alright? Art doesn't have to reflect reality all the time, you know? That's like watching porn where a housewife gets railed, then picking up the phone and calling the plumber. Is another key component that adds to the hectic nature of the game. True to its live streaming inspiration, the visuals of Mohawk the Range Joseph goes out of its way to deliberately overload your senses, as if trying to maintain the maximum amount of dopamine produced at any given moment. Every time you burst into a room, your corneas are assaulted by pulsating neon-colored walls, an overabundance of particle effects, and epilepsy-inducing flashing light every time you perform an action. Ooh, that reminds me. Is it too late to give out an epilepsy warning? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter now, does it? Yeah, sorry about that. But if you make it this far, please remember to like and subscribe to keep this channel on live support. Please. Please. Note that during this whole time, I've never referred to the visuals as obstructive or obfuscating, because despite its tendency to try and overwhelm you, the game still manages to be intelligible pretty much 100% of the time. This is honestly a very commendable, dare I say, Herculean feat of game design on the part of the developers. I mean, I can pause the game at any moment, and you can still clearly see where enemies are, what they do, and how you can get rid of them. The overzealous use of colors and effects does not in any way detract from the actual gameplay, but adds to it in meaningful ways, if not in function, then in pure stimulation. Another thing I'd like to point out is that you have this epilogue section where you can go through a game manual, flipping through its pages and reading the content within, of which there are a lot. Though this is nothing too special or, ironically, tangible, which defeats the purpose of a physical game manual, it still feels pretty wholesome. You know, just sitting there, going through the pages, looking at the enemy design and learning about the game's lore, that kind of stuff. Something which I've never been privy to in my entire life. I'm Asian, I don't read for fun, okay? I read to torture myself. You know how it is. Nothing says light reading like a Georg Hegel book. And if you don't know who that is, then consider yourself lucky. Why do you think I got this lobotomy? Ask yourself a question. Do I like casinos? If the answer is yes, then oh boy, go get some help. See that your gambling habits don't turn into an addiction. But should that happen, then look no further than skin-fade irrational Joshua as an alternative to satisfying your depraved urge to bet your child's college funds on red. Again, feeding into the infinite dopamine flow concept, the sound effects here just scream casino pachinko machines and 80s retro arcade. Granted, I've never been to a casino myself, but if you say exploiting people's base desires for profit, then this is exactly what I imagine it to sound like. The music is good, call it personal bias, but synthwave is one of those music genres that I'll never get bored of no matter how much I listen to it. So, I like pretty much all that I hear in this game. The music doesn't play as prevalent of a role here as in Hotline Miami. Not that it's a bad thing, just that it mostly serves as a backdrop for the sound effects you're going to be bombarded with for the entirety of the game's runtime. The only respite you're gonna get is between floors when you get to choose your upgrades. But even then, you have to listen to this annoying woman.
Woohoo! Our systems are back online, baby! And you get a checkpoint! It's a win-win. You have 10 floors to reach our princess. You read the terms and services of our app, right?
She's annoying on purpose, so they have added an option to mute her right off the bat. But I'm okay with it for the most part. It is only in endless mode or after long hours of gameplay that her voice starts to become grating. But all of my senses would have been dulled by then. Look, if you have the fortitude to sit through Cornrow's Looney Jordan for longer than 3 hours at a time, then you're doing life wrong. Should you play Afro Psychotic, Jonathan? I don't know. Do you like video games that are well designed and with so much potential that I sincerely hope in my deepest dreams that we could get a sequel where they actually ram things up to the max? Thank you to members of my Patreon and a special shout
To